Well, joining us now to talk through the government's COVID strategy, especially over the festive period, is our political correspondent, Tom Harwood. Tom, this Downing Street garden party / business meeting, whatever it was, do you think this has done any damage, particularly at a time when the Prime Minister does want to retain some credibility in terms of enforcing any restrictions he might have to?
Yeah, this is the continued drip of evidence about all of those social gatherings that appeared to be going on within Downing Street and within the grounds of Downing Street as well. Throughout the 3 lockdowns that we had, and indeed under tiered restrictions as well, clearly hugely damaging to the Prime Minister. Clearly the public are not happy with it. We've seen that in the way that the polls for the Conservative Party have taken a nosedive, and of course that by-election loss last week in real-world data, just how fuming people are across the country about this hypocrisy, really, as many people see it. Now, of course, Downing Street say about this event that they were wearing suits and ties, that the wine and cheese was supplementary to the business meeting that was going on outdoors. But still, I think people take that not particularly seriously, given that people who wanted to meet their own friends and family, loved ones, attend funerals, attend weddings, big social events, maybe meet older loved ones for the last time, were forbidden from doing so at that time. It's the hypocrisy that really strikes harsh here.
Doesn't it show that Rishi Sunak wants Boris out, though? This picture must have come from somewhere number 11, hasn't it?
Well, there is the suggestion that someone in Rishi Sunak's staff may have taken this picture. Nothing proven, of course, speculation. But yes, the vantage point of that photograph does seem to have come from a Rishi Sunak quarter of the big complex. And let's not forget, Downing Street, it's not an ordinary residential street. This is a vast, vast complex of rooms, all knocked through. It's a serious governmental centre. And to some extent, that does explain why people were behaving a little bit differently within Downing Street. Of course, they did have to come in for work. They were sitting around work tables together. So even though it wasn't allowed in the rules, you can see why they might have taken the idea that sitting around next to each other for work is epidemiologically no different from sitting around each other for social pleasure. But really, that the rules were there, and that's the point. It doesn't matter the epidemiological nature of this sort of stuff if it breaks those rules, because no one else had that sort of discretion.
Yeah. Can I just say, I delivered a monologue earlier, as I do at the start of every show, really, and I'm absolutely copying it now, right, in this inbox. I'm getting it from all angles, as it were, from people who seem to be, I think, insinuating that, or maybe it was the way it was taken, perhaps, that I was calling for more restrictions. Certainly was not calling for more restrictions, or that I wanted, more rules and regs. I'm not saying that. I was trying to make a point about uncertainty and a lack of a decision and a lack of clarity. And that is an issue, isn't it, Tom, for this country at the moment?
Oh, absolutely. It certainly is. And I think that one of the worst things, particularly for businesses, but also for families and planning things like big social events. I know many people want weddings in the new year.
Yeah.
Now, not knowing whether they can do that, or people who might have booked holidays and not knowing if they could possibly go away, that is really, really damaging. Not only for confidence in our economy, but also for our social fabric as a society. The idea that Number 10 can't even give clear indications on its line of thinking, and we have to rely on briefings to newspapers, that is very damaging. But also, the most irritating point about this whole cabinet discussion that occurred yesterday at 2 p.m, it lasted for 2.5 hours. It was a really quite marathon Zoom cabinet session. The really curious thing here is that Chris Whitty and Patrick Vallance were there saying, if we're going to do something, we need to do something to disrupt the peak of this virus, and the peak of this virus will occur over intergenerational mixing around Christmas, that particular weekend. Now, the Cabinet seems to have said, OK, we're not going to do anything around that weekend, but we might do restrictions stretching on way longer than even had been advised after that weekend. It seems completely at odds with both what the scientists are saying, but also way worse than doing nothing at all as well. We may well be ending up in a worst of both worlds situation. And that's the price of indecision.
Well, Well, Tom, thank you for summing that up for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Prime Minister has an incredibly difficult
I wouldn't want it.
decision,
I wouldn't want his job.
It's really not helped, is it, by the fact these, pictures keep coming out and his credibility isn't perhaps not what it once was.
So just very quickly, sorry, my entire production team here, because I'm just about to ask them a very, very quick question. There is, we're getting asked this a lot in the inbox. Why are we not mentioning the apparent video showing Sir Keir Starmer drinking beer during the May lockdown? I don't know if you've seen this one of him. Why is that less in the news than Boris Johnson's? Is there some reason behind that?
I have seen that picture. I don't know the provenance of that picture.
Yeah.
And I wonder if people haven't been able to stand it up.
Right.
If people are just saying that it's from a particular time when they don't know yet. I'm not across the detail of that. We'll try and find that out.
No, but it just seems like it's a lack of an ability to stand it up more than that's why it's not in there.
That is my initial impression. I don't know for sure, but that's definitely something to look into.
Good stuff. Thank you, Tom. Bit of extra overtime for you there. Cheers.